Hey guys, it's Jenna Pecor of Bancroft Realty coming to you, all your North Texans for your North Texan real estate needs. And today we're in part 4 of this particular video series where we're discussing the seller's estimated net proceeds and how that a real estate agent can help guide you through the process and actually help add more money to your bottom line when it comes to selling your house. So today we're going to talk about some of the variable fees that could be potential negotiating points for when you receive an offer. Today I'm going to discuss specifically the residential service contract and the title policy. So let's, this particular net proceeds sheet is based on a potential contract that my seller has received and that the buyer is asking for them to pay for. So in our particular contract, the residential service contract is actually, they have requested that we pay $850 for a residential service contract. That is up to that amount. So in the contract, what it states is it doesn't state what an actual residential service contract will cost. They're asking for the seller to pay up to $850 in a contract. This is the home warranty, and it's for the first year. Well, me knowing that I'm a real estate agent that has done this numerous times, I know that $850 is quite substantially over what an actual what an actual home warranty is actually going to cost the buyer. So what we're going to do is we're going to say, well, we will pay for a residential service contract, but we're only going to pay up to $600, which basically adds another $250 to the bottom line of this particular seller when it comes to selling their home. And we know that the house does not have a pool, the house does not have a septic tank. There's all these things that a buyer is not going to need in a home warranty. So we went ahead and we negotiated that down. The other thing that we're going to do is we're going to go through and look at the title policy. So the title policy is set by the state of Texas. So regardless of whatever title company you close at, this title policy amount will be the same. It'll always be the same. And it's based on the actual property and the cost of the property, okay? So in this particular scenario, the buyer asked for the seller to pay for the title policy. The seller has decided that they will pay for half, but that's all that they're going to pay for. They're not going to pay for the whole thing. So what we're going to do is we're going to divide that in two. We're going to say the seller is going to pay for $811, and then the buyer will have to pay for $811. So you can see that when we start to kind of mess with these numbers, we can see how that affects the net proceeds and how that adds more to their bottom line or less to their bottom line based on the fees. Okay, so this again is where it comes into using a real estate agent and their knowledge of the process and how this all works. Let's also, while we're at it, since we have a couple more minutes that we can use, let's also discuss another fee that comes into play, which is the survey fee. So in this particular scenario, the buyer has asked the seller to provide a survey. So that is one of these costs that the seller doesn't know exactly when it comes to looking at the contract. All the contract says is buyer is asking seller to pay for the survey. We don't know how much that's going to cost. So again, using the real estate knowledge that I have available to me, I know that the survey is probably going to cost somewhere in the neighborhood of $550. But I also know that the seller does have a survey. Okay, the buyer just hasn't seen it yet. And we do know that the survey has not changed. Okay, so I can look at the survey and go, okay, because I've been to the house, I know what's on the property, I can look at the survey and go, okay, this survey is still accurate. You haven't added any sheds, you haven't put a pool in, you haven't changed anything about the property, you haven't added an extension onto the back of the house. This survey is going to work just fine. So yes, the contract actually requests that you pay for the survey, but we know you're not going to actually have to buy a new one because the one that you have is sufficient. So now suddenly that is not a cost that is associated with this contract anymore. On the flip side, when we go through and the buyer has asked the seller to pay for a survey and the seller goes, well, I already have a survey. So that's fine, I'll pay for it, but we're not going to need one. But then I look at the survey and I'm like, wait a second, you actually had a shed put onto the back of the house. That shed sits on a concrete slab. Well, the bank is going to require, or actually the title company is going to require that you have a new survey with that shed added on, because it is going to affect the title policy and the warranty that the title policy has on that particular lot. So we can say, well, yeah, they're asking me to pay it, but I don't think it's going to cost me anything. Well, now I can go, wait a second, seller, you are going to need another one. And so we're going to add that on there. And now, is it something that the seller is willing to pay for or not? So now we know how to go back and negotiate that particular part of the contract. So these are all ways that a real estate agent goes through this all with you and can actually go through these numbers specifically and make sure that you understand exactly what you're going to be paying for when you go to close on your house, and exactly what you're going to be walking away with at the end of the day. So join me in the next part. And we're going to be talking a little bit more about how to negotiate the contract and to walk away with as much money as you possibly can, and using how a real estate agent can help you do that. Again, if you have any questions, you can find my contact information below the video, and I hope you join us next time. Thanks.